Buster launched a restaurant in the late 1970s that became well known for its delectable cuisine and welcoming staff. Dave built an outlandish entertainment and gaming spot a few doors away, drawing adults there for pleasure in an irresistible way. People were passing between the two young business owners' locations, and an idea began to form. What if they placed both under a single roof? 1982 saw the opening of the first store in Dallas. The two young men uncovered an empty 40,000 square foot warehouse while searching Restaurant Row in Dallas. Many in the restaurant business thought Dave and Buster were absolutely nuts, so they jumped right into building. They opened the first Dave and Buster's in December 1982, using Dave's name first since he won a coin toss. Today, with more than 140 locations, a lot has changed. Every location boasts more cutting-edge games than ever, a wider selection of delectable food options, and the most creative drinks available. We have everything from wings to steaks to fulfill your appetite, and our premium bar guarantees that we have enough food to do so. Additionally, you may enjoy amazing stadium sound while watching your game on one of our enormous HD TVs. In essence, a notion that was developed in 1982 and has undergone constant evolution is still best summed up by the phrase we usually use: there's no place quite like it. D&B was designed to offer one of the most unusual entertainment experiences you'll ever have, from our handcrafted world-class pocket billiard tables to the extensive selection of games in our $1 million Midway. And to exquisitely match the entertainment, you'll also find a remarkable choice of culinary options and drinks. The history of Dave and Buster's began in Little Rock, Arkansas with David Corriveau and James Buster Corley. In 1975, Corriveau opened a cafe called Cash McCool's. His previous employment included selling vehicles and snow cones, playing blackjack in Las Vegas, and waiting tables. A year later, he sold that successful enterprise and launched Slick Willie's World of Entertainment. This 10,000 square foot pool and game room was located in the recently refurbished railroad station in Little Rock. Corley began working at TGI Fridays in 1972 as a waiter and quickly advanced through the managerial ranks. He was in charge of opening new locations by the middle of the 1970s, and he considered the train station as a potential site, but he had always desired his own home. He asked Corriveau and other people for support before opening Buster's next to Slick Willie's in the train station. The two guys grew close friends and soon realized that their clients alternated between their two businesses. They started speculating about what might happen if they put Buster's food and Dave's games under one roof and how huge that roof may be. They worked on a basic concept for nearly a year before Corriveau sold Slick Willie's to obtain capital. After that, they started looking for a place. After relocating to Dallas, Corriveau and Corley launched the first Dave and Buster's in a converted warehouse in December 1982. They invested $3 million to transform the 35,000 square foot space into what they desired, and it was successful right away. People were playing pinball, cashless blackjack, pool, and other arcade games at the crowded establishment while also drinking and eating. The partners improved their fun and food approach during the ensuing years, enlarging the location by building a 9-hole practice golf course. They established a second, identically sized site in Dallas in 1988. The audience for Dave and Buster's was adults. You can rent games by the hour. Customers enjoyed playing pool on handcrafted mahogany and rosewood tables costing $15,000, and the shuffleboard tables were of tournament caliber. The play areas, which were dispersed among many dining rooms in the complex, offered a full cuisine and bar service. The $1 million Midway included arcade games with an electronic, skill, and sports focus. The partners were prepared to open more units once they had the concept down pat, but they needed money for it. Corriveau and Corley made a transaction with Edison Brothers Stores, Inc. In the winter of 1989, this $1 billion conglomerate owned 2,700 retail locations, mostly in the shoe and clothing sectors. When St. Louis-based Edison Brothers decided to invest money in Dave and Buster's to build up their entertainment sector, they ended up owning around 80% of the business. Ownership of the remainder remained with Corriveau and Corley. The company started to expand with the help of Edison Brothers' financial support. Houston became the site of Dave and Buster's third establishment in 1991, with 53,000 square feet. The new facility was nearly 20,000 square feet bigger than the original two. Atlanta's Dave and Buster's opened the next year, in 1992. The business relocated 2 years later, opening a 70,000 square foot complex in Philadelphia. The business escaped a potential legal disaster in Texas in 1994 as well. According to a state district judge, consumers of arcades could accrue their earnings from the arcade games they played and exchange them for prizes worth more than $5 under a new state gambling statute. The estimated $10 million cost to construct and furnish each new Dave and Buster's was putting a strain on Edison Brothers. The majority owner sold its ownership stake in Dave and Buster's to its shareholders in 1995. Dave & Buster's went public after the spin-off, selling around $30 million in stock on the Nasdaq under the ticker symbol DANB. Corvo and Corley served as the new company's co-chief executives, and Andy Newman, who had quit as Edison Brothers CEO, was named chairman. The signing of a licensing agreement with Base plc to run up to 7 locations in the UK was announced by Dave & Buster's in the summer of 1995. In addition to being the biggest beer brewer in the UK, Base also ran Holiday Inn hotels, 4,000 pubs, and a nationwide network of bingo halls, bookmakers, and 10-pin bowling alleys. In addition, Dave & Buster's debuted its first facility in Chicago that year, bringing the total of American locations to 6. Meanwhile, Edison Brothers had declared bankruptcy by the year's conclusion. Expansion accelerated thanks to funds from the Edison takeover, the stock offering, and a $28 million secondary offering late in the year. In 1996, Corvo and Corby opened 3 locations: Hollywood, Florida, Bethesda, Maryland, and a second store in Chicago, each of which was anticipated to bring in between $12 and $15 million in yearly sales. Additionally, the business has a partnership with Iwerks Entertainment Inc. to build and run Iwerks 16-seat turbo ride theaters in various Dave & Buster's locations. Customers would be able to view blockbuster movies in chairs that matched the action on the big screen. But Dave & Buster's wasn't the only business profiting from the desire for entertainment among Americans. In addition to already established theme chain restaurants like Hard Rock Cafe, Planet Hollywood, and Rainforest Cafe, newcomers were developing concepts like the $11 million Laugh Factory Funhouse, which features comedy memorabilia and joke databases, Steven Spielberg's submarine-themed dive, music-themed restaurants playing Motown or country music, and various combinations of video arcades and real-world or virtual games. Midway through 1996, observers started to foresee oversaturation in the entertainment market and a subsequent consolidation. Dave & Buster's, whose 1995 profits were up nearly 27%, was the exception to their less than optimistic projection. Despite having a strong reputation for its casual eating fare, the company's amusements, which made up for over 44% of sales, were the distinguishing feature. Knowing this, Dave & Buster's regularly upgraded its game selection. In 1996, a company representative told Investors Business Daily that we can provide a certain level of exposure and have a kind of most favored national status with them, adding that we're one of the first places to obtain new machines. Thus, Corley and Corvo were unconcerned about the prospect of an excessive number of massive complexes competing for customers' leisure spending. In 1998, Corvo stated to Restaurant Hospitality that entertainment had not even been invented at that point. The typical client comes to us 10 times a year. Because of this, we differ from entertainment, which targets tourists for a fast visit and a t-shirt sale. At each area, we set out to firmly create and support a local customer. In 1997, other well-known companies entered the entertainment market and adopted the Dave & Buster's concept of enormous complexes with restaurants and arcades, including Disney, Spielberg, and Sony. Meanwhile, Dave & Buster's continued to expand, adding 4 locations in 1997. Restaurant locations were typically found in large cities with a population of at least 1 million people within 10 miles, in prominent locations near businesses, residences, and tourist attractions. The apartments were frequently found in megamalls. Opening expenses currently run around $11.5 million, of which the gaming sections of the website accounted for 65%. The company launched the Dave & Buster's Power Card to activate its arcade games in an effort to keep consumers engaged. This falling balance card, which allowed for unlimited recharges at conveniently situated power stations, contributed to a 10% boost in game sales. The business added 5 more complexes in 1998, increasing the total number of its U.S. locations to 17. One of these, in Columbus, Ohio, was in the firm's new intermediate style with 40,000 square feet of space targeted at cities with fewer than 1 million inhabitants. In addition, the business developed a smaller version, which, at 30,000 to 35,000 square feet, was around the same size as the first Dave & Buster's. The first of these models would be finished in 1999, and they would be constructed in smaller markets. Dave & Buster's signed further licensing agreements, spanning the Pacific Rim, Western Europe, and Canada. Base plc has 2 operating facilities in Birmingham and Bristol, England. In the course of the year, Dave & Buster's agreed to pay $2.24 million to resolve all claims arising from the 1995 spin-off from Edison Brothers stores. While its rivals targeted families and younger individuals, Dave & Buster's stuck to its strategy of targeting people between the ages of 24 and 44. The business had consistently drawn some corporate clients, mainly private parties. In order to enhance sales from events like conferences, product introductions, and workplace picnics, it took a more aggressive approach in this area media in 1998 and launched a marketing campaign called Big on Business. It also debuted the Company Challenge, a team-building activity featuring officials, uniforms, scorecards, and prizes. By the end of the year, corporate-sponsored events accounted for about 13% of the company's revenue. In that year, amusement revenue exceeded 50% of total sales, a rise of 42% over 1997. Clearly, Dave & Buster's had a winning idea. Each year, the company's revenues increased dramatically. 9 locations generated $88.8 million in revenue and $6.3 million in profit during the 1996 fiscal year. With 3 more sites, sales increased to $128.5 million in fiscal 1997, with $8.9 million in profits. With 17 complexes, the company generated $182.3 million in revenue and $13.6 million in profit during the 1998 fiscal year. In 1995, the typical Dave & Buster's facility had a volume of $10.7 million. By 1998, that number had climbed to $13.2 million, while revenues at already operating locations rose by 6% in 1998. The company announced ambitions to double the number of sites in the United States by 2002 during the year 1999, when it went to the New York Ticker Exchange and adopted the stock symbol DNB. In December, the business launched its 23rd facility in the United States, in Rhode Island, and the first Dave & Buster's in Asia, in Taipei, Taiwan. The year 1999, however, was not good for theme restaurants. After comparable store sales fell by 10%, Planet Hollywood declared bankruptcy, and Rainforest Cafe was acquired by Landry's Seafood Restaurants. Same-store sales at Dave & Buster's fell by 2.2%. And in August 1999, the company's shares fell by 45% in a single day due to lower than anticipated profit. According to Michael Bayard of the Urban Land Institute, theme restaurants have generally paid very little attention to food. He told the Denver Post, "It has been often believed that offering entertaining that is enjoyable and visually appealing is sufficient. But no matter how brilliant the idea is, restaurants won't succeed without the fundamentals," he observed. The focus wasn't solely on the food. People have to return repeatedly. Even while many theme and entertainment eateries had a rush of customers when they first opened, a place would not last if visitors simply stopped by once to check it out or as out-of-town tourists. The food, the large crowds at the new locations, and the recurring business at the older complexes were all things that Dave & Buster's took great pride in. The company declared after the third quarter that it will scale down its expansion plans and improve unit-level support as a result of a 92% decline in earnings and a 6.2% decline in same-store sales. In an effort to boost sales through marketing and advertising rather than through expansion and word of mouth, it also upped its marketing and advertising budget by $4 million. "Our stores have a terrific honeymoon time when they open," Corvo said to Nation's Restaurant News in January 2000. "But after that 18 months to 2 years, they need constant attention." Through his Mandarin, Inc., British multi-billionaire Joseph Lewis purchased 1.1 million Dave & Buster's shares in December 1999. As a result, Mandarin now owned 10.6% of the business. A month later, Texas businessman Lacy Harbor expanded his stake in Dave & Buster's to 9.8%. The chain's largest institutional investor, Dresdner RCM Global Investors of San Francisco, and the entire board of the firm each held around 10% of the stock. According to Bill Baldwin of Dallas investment firm Baldwin Anthony McIntyre & Bowles, the individuals at Dave & Buster's have to be contemplating their own choices right now. And I would believe that implies they have to be looking at a management-led buyout as one of those options. The concept of Dave & Buster's, which had been established for almost 18 years, had been well-liked from the start, and the business had been profitable. The idea, however, has not significantly changed since the first complex in Dallas except from the addition of new games and attractions. They might need to upgrade and become more contemporary and trendy with today rather than 1985, one analyst told Nation's Restaurant News. For more fast food restaurant origins, hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified when new content is uploaded.